If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself.
Turn the volume down.
Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery, but let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially, do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive Him to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Max M.
had intended for that to keep her picture up there for a while, had her name on it, but that's okay. If I look a little crooked, don't worry. People are used to it. I was asked by Brenda to be here for this service, and I take it very seriously. And, it's I've done this before, but not for something this close to me or this important to me. So it's a little difficult. That was Joyce's favorite song, so we performed it for her. And I didn't think I'd be able to do it in person. Be still and listen. Be brave and believe. Nothing is missing, because love never leaves. Let us pray. God, loving all your children, even the tiniest of your creations, you grace us with your unending mercy, rejoicing in your promise of healing, redemption, and peace to all who love you. We gather today to turn this reality of death into a hope of new life. We come not to focus our thoughts on knowing the sorrows of parting, but to shine the light upon remembering all the joys of coming together, and thus lighten the burden of these children gathered here. Guide us in our endeavors. Amen. Without forgiveness, there can be no faith. And without faith, there can be no hope. And without hope, there is no love. Without love, there can be no peace. And having been forgiven, I have faith, and I believe there is always hope, which springs eternal. And taking hope, I come to love, finding peace. Finding love, I am at peace. And I have forgiven all who ever wronged me. So having faith and taking hope and coming to love, let us now be at peace. And in your hearts, know that I love you all. The greatest commandment is love. It is all that counts. And if you concentrate on loving others, you will find your own life filled with love in return. And authentic spirituality is always about love and light. None of us are a mistake. Everything we are is God. Everything. And every day, we're wrapped in the arms of his love. It is okay. Let yourself be happy. Your life will be so much better when you are. We meet here today to honor the life of Joyce and DeBruler, one Fuller, and to bless these, her children, her family, and all who have come to acknowledge the transfer of her spirit to God's keeping. And we give thanks for her life and ask God to bless her now that her time in this world has come to an end. And for Joyce and DeBruler, the journey is now beginning. But for us, there's loss, grief, and pain. And every one of us here has been affected, perhaps in small ways, or perhaps in transformative ones, by Joyce and DeBruler. Our mother, our aunt, our friend. Her life mattered to us all. It is important for us collectively and individually to acknowledge and accept that our world has fundamentally changed with her passing. We are all grieving. Life will not be the same, nor should it be. Together, Let us open our hearts and commemorate the impact Joyce and DeBruler had upon us, each and every one. As we close the book of life, we come to the point not of sorrow, of loss, or of despair. Having moved beyond all these mortal fears, we come now in celebration. Let us proceed in celebration, not in mourning. Let us celebrate the living of her spirit for a time as a child of this physical world. This spirit which has resided for a brief time in the flesh, quickened by the waters of life, become human and dwelt among us. This spirit still lives. Let us not mourn dead ashes. Let us celebrate living spirits as we return the flesh to the waters and the earth. The spirit lives on. As part of the memorial service, there's usually a eulogy, and our cousin and daughter and sister, Jackie Dishner, who couldn't be here, has written a marvelous eulogy, and she's listening now in Arizona, and I was asked to read it. Joyce Ann DeBruler, born Fuller in Ohio County, Kentucky, died on August 19th under the care of hospice in Gary, Indiana. She was 79 and would have celebrated her 80th birthday on September 19th, 2020. She leaves behind a son, Michael DeBruler, and 3 daughters, Brenda Ann DeBruler, Collum, Bonnie DeBruler, Kempke, Kevin Kempke, husband, Jackie Dishner, Rick Albrecht, husband, along with many grandchildren and great-grandchildren, Jackie Cottrell, Brianne Coleman, Celia Waddington, Robert Charlesworth, Michael McKittrick, Chelsea DeBruler, Trent DeBruler, Stephanie DeBruler, Kalia Harris, Justice Banks, Donnell Webster, Kenny Taylor, Connie McKittrick, Xander Allen, Mason Charlesworth, Rory Charlesworth, Wyatt Waddington, and Holiday Waddington. I should make her read this part. Does this family pop out babies as if they were Pez candies or what? Joyce is preceded in death by her parents, Roy Clifton and Jessie Ree Fuller. Husband, Hermit Iman DeBruler. Youngest son, Scott DeBruler. Granddaughter, Randy Lynn DeBruler, and 3 siblings, Maddie Hedden, Nancy Barnett, and Clifton Fuller. At her passing, she was the last surviving member of her birth family. Joyce was, like many of us, a complicated person, sometimes full of charm and wit, other times spice and sass. She was a pain in the to her loved ones, who all too often, but who the heck isn't? At age 16, she married too young, and then had too many kids, so many kids, that after her husband Hermie died in 1968, she didn't know what to do. The answer came a few years later, and she moved the entire brood from Whiting, Indiana, to start a new life in the suburbs of Valparaiso, where they lived for about a decade in a 2-story house on Piedmont Street. It was there she attempted to be a Beeline clothing hostess. I see you over there. Sell Avon, and one year actually ran a backyard carnival for muscular dystrophy. While living there, she also watched her 2 oldest children achieve what she had not been able to do, graduate high school. She did, however, get her GED. The weekend that Elvis Presley died, Joyce was on the road again. I I was informed that there was a blip here in the eulogy earlier today or yesterday. As the family first moved to North Carolina via Memphis, Tennessee, that's why they mentioned Elvis, before traveling westward. But I continue with Jackie's eulogy. Behind the wheel of an old beater car with no air conditioning, and possibly, should memory serve, the one with the missing driver's seat floorboards. The oldest having left home, she was driving her now smaller family out west. After some stops at KOA parks for the kids' first time ever camping experiences, the family eventually arrived in one piece at their destination during the hottest time of the year. And they had gone to live with her son Michael, who had joined the Marines and was now stationed in Yuma, Arizona. Yes, it gets pretty hot out there. This was to be where she would see daughters Bonnie and Jackie graduate high school, and then become the first members of her family to attend college. Not one to put on airs and brag, we do believe she was quite proud. Having grown up herself in the bluegrass state, Kentucky, Joyce never gave up on her hillbilly ways. And she would often refer to windows as winders. Remembers her great-grandson, Trent. Yes. He remembers. That's Trent recalling that, my mistake. And she tried her hand at making wine and beer in a wash bucket. And she was a fan of both gospel and bluegrass music, to the embarrassment of her youngest child. She could dance the jig to Rocky Top like nobody's business. And I've seen her do that at 72 or 70.
75th birthday.
70, I was at her 75th birthday, and she was dancing Rocky Top to go into town. She always wanted to learn how to play the organ like a pro, but settled for amateur pecking of the occasional "The Old Rugged Cross," which is why we played that today. Not for us, for Joyce. A lifelong heavy drinker of RC Cola, then Pepsi, she switched to ginger ale when her health required no caffeine. But Joyce never stopped smoking the cigarettes. And that annoyed Bonnie and Jackie to no end and worried Mike. And she kept at it despite the many horrifying attempts Mike and Scott took to convince her to not smoke. It turned out that firecracker-like poppers stuck in the end of cigarettes blowing up in her face made dear old Mom quite mad. Go figure. That only incited her to smoke all the more. That's what I would have done. She did finally stop the smoking, though, when congestive heart failure gave her a month-long scare in the hospital 10 years before her passing. I'm not going back. I'm not going to smoke anymore, she told Brenda, and she didn't. Joyce was always rather crafty. When she wasn't waitressing, cleaning schools or office buildings, weighing trucks or standing guard at military bases, a pick of her many jobs, she was creating something. She liked to sew and made quilts in her daughter's dresses when the family was young. She made hats to give away when she was older. I've had several. I still have one. I passed some of them on. I don't think she minds. She worked with crochet needles, her father's letter tools, and macrame hangings. She ordered paint-by-number kits by the dozens and bought too many plaster molds for any one person to ever paint in a single lifetime. Handy and more self-sufficient than she realized, she even remodeled her kitchen once, designing and building a bar right down to covering the bar front and stools with stuffed leather and brass rivets. And when the bank decided to do a foreclosure, Joyce decided to do a tear-out on the kitchen remodel. Some might say she had a mean streak. A Glendine kind of mean. Kentucky, that is, for those of us who know. Glendean was quite a little place. Her oldest daughter would say simply she was a tough old bird. She was the mother who would whip you one minute and then teach you how to sew the next. Because of that, she did pass along her interest in the creative arts and reading to Bonnie and Jackie, and her interest in technology to Brenda and Bonnie. While still in Yuma, she herself attended community college for a few years. Joyce left Arizona in 1989, heading back to her roots in the Midwest, living with her son Scott for a few years in Kentucky, then eventually moving in with daughter Brenda and Gary, where she remained until her death. The legacy she leaves behind is one of uncommon toughness, mated through a persistent stubbornness, the two which combined with a quirky sense of humor pretty much ensured a measure of success at whatever Joyce set out to accomplish. She passed these traits along to her children as well. With love and respect, may they honor her teaching and use these talents wisely. Jackie Dishner. At this time, before I continue, I would like to ask if there's anyone present who wishes to come up and share their heart, their memory, or any thoughts on Joyce and DeBruler. Please come up and do so. Okay? We have a paper.
I'm gonna tell you guys something. They talk about her accomplishments. The coolest thing my mother ever did was when I had Joy and Randy, and they were just little babies. And this old lady hitchhiked from Yuma, Arizona to Gary, Indiana to see her babies. She stayed with me for like 2 weeks. But she was determined to see them. I don't know. She's been my best friend for I don't know how long now. I gave her more hell than all 4 of my brothers and sisters put together, and she ended up with me. And I'm really, really, really gonna miss her a lot. She'd go to the bar with me and sit there and flirt with all the young men. And you see in the pictures, there she is, all the dudes surrounding her. She, the best thing. You know, she drove me crazy. I wanted to strangle her 90% of the time. She'd bitch about everything. Oh, God. I know. But then she'd say, okay, we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that, or take Kylie and teach her how to cook. She knows how to make her own noodles now, because Grandma taught her. You know, I'm just gonna miss her a lot. Every day.
I'll say something.
Please.
I said something, but Grandma is one of the coolest humans I've ever met. And I don't think up until she died that I appreciated like the countless ridiculous stories that I sometimes swore she made up, because there's no way that she had a story for every single subject. I'd be like, Grandma, you know, story time. Story time. And you get stuck for 30 minutes just listening to her babble on something that made no sense. But in her mind, she tried to spell it out for you. And one of the things that I think about all the time is we went down there for a summer. I think I was probably 11, maybe. Joy and Randy were 12 and 13, and we were down there for the whole summer. I had my first job. I delivered newspapers. It was fun. But Grandma had just broken both of her wrists when she worked at the Army Depot, and so when we got there, my grandma was a total gamer. Like every video game system that existed, she had an Atari, a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, a Game Boy, the DS she had at one point, and we would play, like Zelda was her game, and we would play that, and she would yell at us to do what she said because she couldn't play anymore because her wrist didn't work. So she would be like, no, you gotta go this way. I'm like, Grandma, I'm playing. She's like, no, you're playing for me. I'm like, oh. So we would just play, let her live vicariously through us, and keeping her young. And if I don't take anything away from my grandma, I will take the fact that right now I am exactly half of what she is. She's 80, I'm 40. I will live my next 40 years like she started it off, gaming and living my life to be happy, and I expect everyone in this room to game on and be happy. She would want that for us.
Would anyone else like to share anything? Okay. I have a short letter that our cousin Kevin, who is Joyce's sister Maddie, who is my aunt as well, the oldest sister. It's her son, one of her sons. Keith is here. I think he just stepped out. But Kevin sent this up from Florida because him and Robin couldn't make it for the event. And I'll read louder so you can hear me. Kevin Hedden and Robin Hedden. And Kevin wrote, I remember from my time as a career naval officer being assigned on detachment to Yuma, Arizona. And Mom, that being Maddie Hedden, our aunt, called me and told me that my Aunt Joyce lived in Yuma. I called her when I arrived. And Aunt Joyce and our cousins made me feel right at home. The best memory of that time is the story that my Aunt Joyce told about being a security guard at the Yuma Proving Ground and how she had to go through survival training because the base is so large that if your vehicle broke down out there on your security checks, there was a possibility that you may not survive to make it back to civilization. From this example, I can only think my aunt is one tough lady to have that kind of job. To this day, that's how I remember her. One tough lady. For everyone present, Robin and I are thinking of you and keeping you in our prayers. Cousin, Kevin Hedden. For this, the committal, you may stand if you wish. You don't have to. Joyce Ann DeBruler is now safe. She's beyond the trials and struggles of this world. Already away on a journey it is not yet time for us to make. Her essence becoming one with the harmonies of the universe. Let us say this farewell as we commit Joyce Ann DeBruler's spirit to its natural course. Joyce Ann DeBruler, we bless you and thank you for being a part of our lives. We honor your life on earth, and we pray for your peace ever after. We will not forget you. Go well into the kingdom of heaven. That much said, we've been called to a purpose. We've been remembering with love and gratitude a life that touched us all. I encourage you to help, support, and love those who grieve the most. Allow them to cry, to hurt, to smile, and to remember. Grief works through our systems in its own time. Remember to bless each day, to live it to the full, in honor of life itself, and of Joyce and DeBruler. We often take life for granted, and yet it is the greatest gift God gave us. And I believe that faith lends us courage to turn the pages in the book of our lives until we come to know why. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. I believe that when we close this book of life, we have read only the first chapter, that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, or spiritual beings having this human experience. If we succeed in learning this, we have begun to comprehend our own humanity. If we strive to help others to understanding, our spirit might live on as a part of their lives. When one another of God's children standing alone in the darkness should reach out their hand, take hold and lead them into whatever light you see. Knowing that we have shared the power of love and given the gift of peace to all we touched while living our own lives, we may then move on to our own understanding. Walk straight into the peace of God. Do not look back. Don't ask if you're there yet. Just keep walking. For quite simply, we are all just here to walk each other home. Go together in peace and go together in love. And I thank you all for sharing your life with me.
Friends, as we conclude our service celebrating Joyce's life here today, what I'm going to do is dismiss from the back of the room. I'm going to have you go down the aisle to your right, passing by the casket to pay a final tribute, and through the door to the lobby, please.
Go
She's up slow. No, I gotta keep one living in. You okay, baby? Pretty. Don't put it in the house.
She's over here, Xander. Mom's over here. Come here. Mom's over here.
I'll take the wreath.
Okay, I'll take the card off it.
Yeah, and I'll take the other, so. What's this one here? No, my sister said, well, sorry, kiddo, wife's coming to my house.
Yeah, I've got it all for you. Take your time here and then I'll go over everything I've got.
You all right, baby girl? Yeah, you want a rose?
I have that for you. And there you go. Can I hear you?
There, you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Thank you for the prayer.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Doug did such a wonderful job. And
Thank you. Yeah, he did. I didn't remember that story. You guys went and spent summer with Grandma when she was in Kentucky?
yeah, and Berea. Yep. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we went to,
I didn't know that. When was that? Whoops. I lost you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you, yeah. It was in, I think it was like, I think it was 1992, because I turned 12 that summer, and yeah, we went down there. She can't see you, you gotta come in on this side. We went down there and stayed the whole summer, and like she made me and Randy get our first job, and so we delivered like newspapers, and it's so funny because I think, you know, we had to go up this hill. I had to deliver a newspaper to the Chamber of Commerce, and it was up a hill, and I was like, oh my God, at like 11, I was like the worst. I was so lazy. And then like playing the video games with her, and you know, we had gone to that Bluegrass Army Depot where she was working, and they had a pool, and I fell asleep in the pool once, and I burned my eyelids. Grandma was so mad at me. She was like, "Why did you put on sunscreen?" I'm like, "On my eyelids? Like, how was I supposed to know?" They were so crunchy. I was like, opening my eyes was like the hardest thing that I ever did in my whole life. I'm like, this is not nice. Yeah. I closed my eyes. I was floating and taking a nap apparently. Well, I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us this way.
He came out after maybe 6 years. Him and Robert.
Very nice.
Yeah, it looks really.
So, Nemo, do I take the whole thing?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Nemo, I'll take the whole thing.
Are you guys on your phone?
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay.
It overheated at one point, so I have it on ice.
Oh, no.
We literally have it on ice.
Are you guys feeling better?
We are.
I still don't have my smell back. I'm still there.
Oh, no.
And now we're back.
Yeah, that's not air.
Well, and just to be clear, you're not the only one losing hair. I think it might be just in your genes.
I'm sorry, but I gotta go take care of.
Oh, wait. No, but hers is thinning out.
Oh.